I am Margarita de Mantua. I am the current Kingdom Seneschal for Ansteorra, and this will be the Seneschal Warranting class that is going to be done today, and it's to get you warranted for new Seneschals or Deputy Seneschals, anyone interested in becoming a Seneschal within the Kingdom of Ansteorra. It did work. Whoop. Okay, sorry. Okay, requirements to become a Seneschal in the Kingdom of Ansteorra. These are musts. You must be 18 or older. You must have attended a warranting class and the financial policy class and also the DEIB class. That is for the Seneschal office only. I mean, those are requirements. You must have a way to be reached by phone. Communication is very important, and you always have to have a reliable way of communicating. You cannot be in the same household or live in the same address as the treasurer of any group. That's not allowed because it's against financial policy. You must be a paid member and warranted. In other words, you must be in good standing, and you should have access to the Kingdom Black Star and reliable internet access to use, and you are to use your Kingdom officer email. So that not personal emails. So reliable internet access to be able to use your Kingdom officer email. Oops, sorry, going too fast. When you're wanting to apply for the Kingdom office, you go to the Kingdom website. There is a link, and you click on it, and the following information is what you'll have to be putting in. It's good to put in as much information, especially your experience and qualifications. That gives the people who are looking at your applications more information in case they're not familiar with you. So that all needs to be filled out through the Kingdom website. And then after you've applied, the Seneschal typically will select the local and regional Seneschals. However, this duty is often delegated to regional when choosing local officers. Again, it is done so that, it's the more familiar, the local people will know the regional people will know the local people more, be well known than the Kingdom Seneschal. I may not be familiar with someone way down south, but I would leave that up to my southern Seneschal, and then they will review it, and then in consultation with me, then we would discuss it, okay? As it says, the application is reviewed by the regional and or Kingdom, and if it's like a baronial, the landed nobles, the group Seneschal, and it's discussed between them. And then after getting all the feedback from the group, the nobles, the Seneschal, and regional and Kingdom, then they'll consult with the Crown and then make sure the Crown does not have any issues or questions concerning the applicant. And then it will be from that point, it goes, then it'll be announced that they will be taking the position, and then that local Seneschal will then go into the reporting as it is in the Seneschal handbook that is broke down on how reporting is to be done. So this is, what's the first responsibility of a Seneschal, any Seneschal out there? Promote peace, harmony, and prosperity. At the time as this training video or PowerPoint was made, we was at about 1,400 paid members. We're a little under that right now, but it's still 1,300 plus. Realize that you know, all of us are volunteers. You know, we have to remember that. Try and not be on people. Try and not be uh, pushing them to do this. Remember, this is a volunteer organization. We want to do our best, and we want to still have fun. Always be fair but kind. Make sure you're not bringing your own personal issues with people into, and if you have an issue with one of the seneschals, you know, make sure that, or one of the members of your group, you know, always be unbiased. That's one of the key things of being a seneschal. So as it says, seneschal's primary responsibility is promoting peace, harmony, and prosperity in your group. And being able to listen, that's key. Being able to listen and take it in, and don't jump to a conclusion. Gather all your information first. That would be my recommendation, because you need to listen to all the sides of a story, because it seems like there's always at least, you know, 3 definite sides to a story. There's one person's, the other person's, and then the actual truth is somewhere in the middle, if that makes sense. I'm trying to do this slow. There it goes. You'll be also conducting the meetings, regular meetings. Remember that you're the leader of the group, not a dictator. And you will want to work in the baronial level. You'll want to work with the landed nobility. Being able to work together and, you know, for the best of the populace. That should be your goal. Many of meetings will be like your group's meeting, like your officers' meetings. There'll be reports, event planning, demo plannings, any new business. That's always done once a month. You should be making an agenda so you don't leave things out. If you're in a barony, you can share your agenda with the landed nobles. That way you can make sure everything gets covered. They may have something they want to add, and being able to work with your officers and review the reports that they give you. Make sure you're going over those. It's very important. That's how you can learn if there's any issues going on, if they, you know, if their attendance is down, you know, and you can help and work with your officers to see if there's something that you can do to get them in touch with someone that could help with the issue that they're having if you couldn't do it yourself. You also will be overseeing, you'll be one member of the financial committee. But remember, finances, that's the exchequer, the treasurers. But you should be, as the seneschal, you are also a member of the financial committee. You need to go over the reports, make sure they are sent in on time, review them for accuracy and completeness. Be aware, you want to go over like bids. That's done with your financial committee. You know, budgets, that's done as the financial committees also. So you are a voice, but you are one, I don't want to say vote, but you are one portion of the financial committee. Most groups, they're odd numbered members, like the barony of Namron. They have 5 members. They have the seneschal, they have the treasurer, they have the landed nobles, and they have 2 other members of the populace. So they have a 5, an odd number. Most, you know, some are just 3, which would be the seneschal, the exchequer, and the landed nobles. So, I mean, it just depends on the group. But there's always an odd number when you are having a financial committee. As the local seneschal, you are the responsible person to be signing all contracts, and you'll be on the signature card for the bank account as co-signing checks. Make sure you are reading the contracts and understanding your group's commitments to the site. If you're uncomfortable with reading the contract, there's people you can help you. So reach out to your regional or your Kingdom Seneschal if you're struggling with it, or if you're new in the position and you're just not quite sure about it. Be sure you can reach up your upline and we can get it taken care of. We don't want to scare anyone that's new to the office. We want to be there and support everyone when needed. Okay, training deputies. That is when you get into your position as Seneschal, what they say is it's recommended you have 2 warrantable deputies, an emergency relief or emergency replacement or ER deputy, and a deputy training to be your replacement. Sometimes it's the same person, but it's recommended if you have someone that's really interested in wanting to become one in the future, go ahead and have them as a deputy and start working with them on a few areas. But an emergency replacement is someone that has experience and that would be able to take over in a short notice. So either, having been a previous Seneschal or other office, but in case sometimes there's health issues or mundane life issues where you may have to step away from the office. And that's who your ER deputy should be, someone that you trust and can take over at a moment's notice in case something comes up. But also being able to train a deputy to be a possible replacement in the future. Of course, it's not always guaranteed that they will be your replacement, but it is someone that you could recommend if they are still at the time of the end of your office. If they're still interested, they can put in the application, and you would be able to answer questions if the Crown or Kingdom Seneschal or whichever upline has questions for you concerning their abilities and things. So it's always good to have at least 2. Sometimes, you must have an emergency replacement in whichever office you take. That will be one of your first jobs is taking over, is you need to get an emergency replacement in place. But having someone that is interested that may come up, maybe 2-3 months after you've started, and then you start working with them. That's always advised. Okay, let's see. Submitting award recommendations. Anyone in the kingdom can submit award recommendations, but officers are more. They have more of an opportunity to observe the members of the populace because they're in a position where they're seeing more of it. It's always advised if you are going to submit someone, you always copy the landed nobles. I mean, if you're in a barony, so that they also will be aware of it. And it can go for the same. If you're doing a baronial award, that would need to be sent to the landed nobles anyway, but that being able to understand that giving it to the landed nobles of your group is important so that they can, if they get called upon, because many times Crown will call upon the landed nobles if they're not familiar with the person that is being submitted for an award. So that is one thing that the Crown will do, is reach out to their landed nobles to talk about and see if that person is deserving of an award. So always copying them is a good thing to keep in place. And every Crown, every time you submit an award doesn't mean that it'll get given that reign. So always remember to, if it doesn't happen this reign, there's another reign in 6 months. So please keep it in mind, keep a copy of it or something, and you can resubmit when the next Crown takes over. There on the Kingdom website, we do have the reference library. It does have all these are available. This is saying that you should keep this for yourself, keeping copies of these, but you can get them off of the Kingdom website. So all of these different policies, waiver, they're all available materials, and you should, as a Seneschal, be familiar with them and where to go to get them when needed. I myself, I keep a copy of the Kingdom Law and Financial Policy, the most up-to-date, with me, but I'm also the Seneschal's Handbook, but being to know where to go to find these is very important part of your job as a Seneschal, because no one can remember everything, but being able to know where to go to find the answer, that will be part of your job as the Seneschal. And, you know, it's okay to tell someone, let me check on that and I'll get back with you. Because, like I said, nobody is their brain is not a computer that's going to memorize everything. And so I would say, you know, just let them know I will get back with you on that. Conducting opinion polls. Those are normally done when we have new candidates for landed nobility. And that's the most, the one that I've used the most frequently. There has been polls that have been used to determine opinions of a group status. That I haven't used that, and I haven't used it at all, is my position as Kingdom Seneschal, but when I was crowned a while back, that was brought up. But know that you can be the one, your responsibility is to conduct those opinion polls. Many times, like local nobility that come up, you can, I'll give an example of Barony of Namron. We had 3 sets of candidates that were going for to be the landed nobility. One of them was the current Venheim Seneschal, so she could not conduct the polling because she was one of the candidates. So I, as Kingdom Seneschal, reached out to a former Seneschal, Her Excellency Edwin from Wiesenführer, and she ran the polling for me because I had mundane issues and I could not show up. So normally the Kingdom or the regional will be the ones conducting the pollings, but if it's for the Crown, and the pollings, the results are only given back to the Crown and the Kingdom Seneschal. No one else has access to the results of the pollings. This is purely for information gathering so that it will help the Crown when making their decision on who they want to be their next landed nobles, or if it's on a group determining opinions of a group status, etc. So, but know that as a Seneschal or a regional Seneschal, sometimes you will be asked to run a polling for the Crown. And it is in the Seneschal Handbook. You are the legal representative of the group. You are to sign all contracts on behalf of your group. When you have an event, the event steward is a deputy to the Seneschal. So no, however, you must be the one that signs the contract, not the event steward. And it says if you have any, you know, you are the legal representative. You are not legal counsel. So if you're unsure, you have questions regarding any contract or legal matter, take it up to the Kingdom Seneschal and we can get it clarified. Don't sign it unless you understand it all, and it's within your group's financial policy to go with that, that's, what you do. Dealing with modern authorities. The Seneschal is a warranted, if there is made aware of a crime that has been committed, you must contact the modern authorities and the Kingdom Seneschal. So say you were at an event and I'll say someone had chest pain, started having a heart attack. You need to call 911. First call is that, okay? And then you need to contact the Kingdom Seneschal, and let us know. But if it's something life-threatening, do that. Or if someone comes up to you and there was sexual crimes, note, they need to make the report. Like say someone was sexually assaulted at an event. They need to be willing to make the report. You need to be there to advise them, as far as if they need to use your phone to call, but you as the Seneschal cannot make that call. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? On those certain crimes. But if this says like crimes that were against a minor, that's immediate reporting, whether it's at an event or not, if it is reported to you or observed by you. But if it is something with an adult, they need to make the report. See, it says dangerous or threatening behavior. Never try to restrain someone, remove people from the area. You can have them to, try and get them away from the group. Try and de-escalate it, but do not try and ever restrain anyone. And if modern authorities are called, you need to be able to change into regular clothes to meet them. And if there's any, like it says, if you suspect mismanagement of SCA funds or equipment, contact the Kingdom Seneschal with all the information that you have. Pacing yourself, knowing when to step down. You are free to step down at any time during your term of office. Try and give at least a 2 months notice, because we need to announce and search for applicants. If anyone is experiencing burnout, it makes it harder and harder for you to attend or do the best thing for your position. So if you start feeling overwhelmed to where you're not managing things, come back and talk to us. Let us know. So, there's, as you say, there's no shame in recognizing this need and resigning, trying to do it the correct way as far as giving us time. But if an emergency happens, it happens. And that's why you should have, when you step into any office, you should have your emergency replacement with you, the information already there, because life happens, and we don't, again, it comes back to, this is a volunteer organization. We need to do what's best for our populace who we're there for, but we also need to remember to do it for ourselves. So be sure and pay attention to those signs. It's critical that you know the requirements for your group and to maintain its status and make sure they're fulfilled. Every group must stay current on officer reporting. That can be tricky at times, but making sure that all the reports are getting turned in. And in your Seneschal report, you'll be putting that information in there, saying whether if using marshal the waivers are being signed and sent. If you are holding regular meetings, if you're, all that is it's an online form that is on the Kingdom website. It's pretty easy to fill out, but making sure you're being as detailed as possible. I believe there's room for comments at the bottom of it if you need to go into more details. Here's the group requirements as far as keeping paid members, and it's broke down to all the different groups: barony, province, shire, canton, riding, colleges, strongholds, and incipient. We had talked was in the previous one about the requirements for a barony, and they'd said 25, and 25 is society, but we go by what Kingdom is, and Kingdom is 35. So, this is the most up-to-date from our Kingdom law of the requirements that we must have. And these are the certain, like barony, you must have a seneschal and a treasurer, and the other, because you have to have at least 2 of the offices. It could be either a marshalate, herald, so you get to pick 2 of the other. I thought it was 5. 1, 2. X required 2. Anyway, this, and like down with like a riding, you only must have the 2 officers, the seneschal and the treasurer, and the others. So this is pretty self-explanatory, but that's our general group requirements. Yeah, it's not wanting to advance. There it went. Okay. Local officers must send copies of their monthly reports to their regional and landed nobility and local seneschal. If you don't receive reports, determine the issue and follow up. Some media and bulletin boards are not official communications. Reporting must be done using the online reporting form, which is on the Kingdom website. And use your Kingdom provided email, because that way it keeps you keep a record of it. The Seneschal's monthly report is due by the 10th of each month to the regional Seneschal. Here is a link that shows you the online reporting. It will automatically send a copy to your regional officer, the media liaison, and waiver secretary. And you can add other email addresses that you want added to that. It gives you space for that. And as I said, include information about your events, demos, fighter practices, any comments on your group status. Always keep a record. Regional Seneschal quarter reports must be submitted to the Kingdom by the 10th of December, March, and June, and September, so that the Kingdom can get it in by the 15th. And I will be asking because I leave early for Gulf Wars. I'm an early on person, so I will be requesting our reports so I can get my March report in before I leave. So I will be putting that out on the list. So just be aware of that. Again, this shows where you go after you go to Ansteorra under Seneschal and monthly reports, and it brings it out there. Event reports are submitted by the group treasurer within 10 days after the event. That is very important. It has to be done quickly after your event. Most groups have normally 2 events, the bigger groups a year, and others have 1, but that's one thing you as a seneschal can. It's not your job to do the event report, but to keep track of it, so in case people get behind, because they'll be sending messages up the line if there's a problem. And as it says, the treasurer will be sending it to regional and Kingdom within 10 days. And the waivers, which is the Seneschals, they're responsible for the Seneschal, so for the waivers, so it will be sent through you if there's waivers from an event, like if they were non-members, those will come to you. End of year financial report is the most important report your group must file, and it's due no later than January 31st of each year, covering the previous year. Because if it's not done and filled out, it could be one of the things that could cause a reason for them to question you being a group. So make sure this is very important, that this gets done and gets done in a timely manner before the due date, if at all possible. Waivers are the signed documents that protect the SCA from lawsuits. The oversight and submission of various types of waivers is the responsibility of the Seneschal. Waivers must be signed by an event attendee or a combat participant if they are not a member of the SCA or do not have a membership with them that shows that they have the membership and assign consent to participate. So if it's someone that comes to your fighter practice and they're like, oh, sorry, I forgot my blue card, but I am, they still need to sign it, because we really should be seeing it. Same as going to the event, I'm a member. No, if you don't have the blue card, then you must sign the waiver, and then in the event, you will be paying the NMR charge, because we have to protect ourselves. So either they sign the waiver or they show the blue card. Types of waivers. Roster, also called consent to participate and release liability, which is under the event waivers, adult waivers, fighter waivers. Minor waivers is a minor's consent to participate and hold harmless agreement is the consent of a parent or legal guardian for their minor child to attend and participate at the SCA event or practice with a non-parent adult. So if your child is going to go to an event and their aunt is going to take them, or their next door neighbor, you as the parent must sign that, and they have to take that in and sign in at the gate. Also, equestrian waiver is informed consent. Anytime there's anything to do with equestrian, all members, whether you have a blue card or not, must sign the equestrian waiver.
On the minor waiver, that has to be notarized, so that has to be done before. Okay, I thought I remembered that.
Sorry, you are correct, Delphina. if like I said, if you're using you as the parent are not able to go to the event but your child is still wanting to go and you trust this person, you must sign it and it must be notarized, and they have to have that when they go to check in at the gate. You're correct. Oh.
There are two minor waivers. There's one that needs to be notarized for that. There's also one for just participating in combat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are correct. Sorry. I guess we need to, Roz, if we want to make a note of that, it is two different type of minor waivers. Oops, that might. Well, that's the next slide, and it does explain that. The roster waiver is signed at gate by attendees who do not have memberships, minor waivers for any minors in attendance, and the medical authorization for minors in attendance without their parent. That's the one that must be notarized. And the equestrian waiver is anyone, whether you have a membership or not, must sign the equestrian waiver if there's any equestrian at an event. I heard
Do minors who have blue cards have to sign the waiver?
No.
Okay.
If they have a blue card, that means that has been signed. Basically, your blue card is showing that you have signed the waiver, right? So I heard another did someone else have a question before we move on?
Ross posted in the comments, I think it is further along, but I'll note that if it's hard to understand and make the waiver section better.
Okay, thank you. So the Seneschal's responsibility with the waivers. You must send a scanned copy of the waivers for each event to the waiver secretary within 10 days. You can save the original or an electronic copy for your files. Do not send the gate sheets. Do not send it with the gate sheets. So, and that goes with fighter practices. The chivalric marshal is responsible to getting either whether you've worked it out with them to the seneschal, the waivers, or he sends them to the waiver secretary. He or she, I'm sorry, whoever that may be. But they must, all waivers is the responsibility of the seneschal. If you work it out that you delegate it to the Knights Marshal, that they will be sending them in after each practice, that's fine. But then if it gets to where the waiver secretary comes back and says, where's all your practice waivers? And they're going to be looking at you as the seneschal, not looking at the marshal, the chivalric marshal. So just know it is your responsibility to know that they are getting sent in. What is an official fighter practice? So it must be sponsored by a local group and published in your newsletter. A warranted marshal or their designated deputy who is authorized as a marshal and a local officer or their deputy are required to attend. Can this be the same individual as like local night marshal, local rapier marshal? If holding a chivalric fighter practice, a warranted chivalric combat marshal must be present. If you're holding a rapier practice, a warranted rapier marshal must be present. Being an authorized marshal does not necessarily mean that you are a warranted marshal. So that means you as the baronial chivalric marshal, you're a warranted officer. And having the A&S minister to be at your practice, then that's an official practice. Or if you are you're the chivalric marshal, but your deputy, who is warranted, who has went through the classes, but it's still your deputy, if they're holding it and the A&S minister, you're still an official practice. Does that make sense?
No one has asked any questions on that one.
Okay. So we're good. And here we are about the waivers at a practice. I guess I jumped around. I didn't wait for it. But roster and minor waivers are required for the participants, not just someone watching. The combat participants must sign it each time if they do not have proof of membership. So say, oh, I left it at home. Then they have to sign the waiver. Even though you saw it last week, they really should sign the waiver. If they can't produce that, you need to have them sign it. And it's at the top of the waiver. You should put the group name and whether it's practice, whether it's an event, and the date. Multiple practices may be on a page as long as the participants sign and date each practice attended. Oh, like if you had one and you only had 4 participants, you could use the same waiver for the next week as long as you say this one was at this date and this portion was at this date. So that's what it's saying. You could use the same one. Or if it makes it less confusing if you have separate to me. It makes sense. The responsibility, the seneschal must scan and send it to the waiver secretary within 10 days. As I already said, the local seneschal will delegate the duty to the local knights marshal. The waiver secretary will use the local seneschal's monthly report to ensure that they get all the waivers. So they can look at it, and if the local seneschal is listed we had 4 practices this month, but the waiver secretary only got waivers from 3. She's going to be following up, she or he is going to be following up to find out, well, what about this practice? And if there were no waivers at that practice, it needs to be written, there was no waivers, all members present. So, I mean, it goes back into the reporting. You just have to make sure it's listed. Equestrian waivers at practices and demos. Again, equestrian waivers are required for participants, but not bystanders. I'm going to have to question this because I thought we have to sign an equestrian waiver whether we're just watching or not. Hard for participation, regardless. You bring. Roz, will you make a note and we need to double check this because we go to BAM where there's horses, we must all have to sign the waiver. So I'm going to double check on the equestrian waivers. So I'll send out an explanation after I look at that. But again, it will come back to the local seneschal is ultimately responsible making sure all the waivers are signed and no waivers are required for practices at which no equestrian activities occur. So, okay. Archery and thrown weapons practices. They must be overseen by the appropriate marshal for the practice. You must be authorized as an archery target marshal, thrown weapons marshal. The roster minor waivers are required for the participants, not the bystanders. And again, the responsibility comes back to the local seneschal to make sure that the waivers are being sent in after the practice.
Your Grace, we have from Roz and from Isabella, they both said that yes, this is not for events, but only for the practice. We're going back to the equestrian, I'm sorry. Okay. And the handbook states, waiver is required for all in attendance for equestrian. So I thought that they were saying that yes, at a demo, it would be. Roz jump in if she wants to, because I don't know.
Roz? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a little confusing. Okay, thank you. So let's see. Minor waivers. Here we have the consent to participate in hold harmless. This waiver is not required if the child has their own proof of membership with them. The minor's waiver and informed consent to participate in SCA combat is used when participating in adult combat, armored or rapier, and it must be signed by the minor's parent or legal guardian and notarized. And the medical authorization for minors gives consent of the parent or legal guardian for their minor children to be medically treated should they be injured. And if a minor is attending an event without their parent and legal guardian, they must have this form signed by the minor's parents or legal guardian and notarized. So 2 and 3 both have to be notarized. The first one is just to attend, and it's signed. But if they have their blue card, they don't have to sign it. It's just to participate. And it says if you bring a child who is not yours legally, you must bring both of these documents, the number 2 and the number 3. And they are, number 1, minor's consent to participate and hold harmless, and medical authorization. The medical authorization must be notarized. Lost waivers. If you have any problems with waivers, contact the waiver secretary. Checking your status of your group each month on the waiver secretary's report sent electronically. Do not destroy original waivers until you have a backup copy on file and you have confirmation that the waiver secretary has received it. Failure to submit waivers in a timely manner could cause future events to be removed from the calendar or fighter practices to be suspended. So waivers are pretty important, and they end up falling back on the Seneschal. So make sure that these are done the correct way. Like I said, whether you delegate it to your Knights Marshal, Rapier Marshal to send them in, make sure they're copying you on the email that has them scanned in. That could just be an extra backup that you just have it in electronic form that you can keep track of. About warranted marshals, there's like the local Knight Marshal, the local Rapier Marshal, a regional Marshal, warranted combat marshals designated as the regional deputy and appointed by the Kingdom Earl Marshal. Authorizing Marshal, warranted by the Kingdom Earl Marshal or his designated deputy to authorize individuals in the SCA combat-related activities. The local Knight or Rapier Marshal are warranted by the Kingdom Earl Marshal or Rapier Marshal and appear on their respective Kingdom warrant rosters. To be warrantable, they must be an authorized marshal. Authorized just means they can fight, not an authorizing. So that's the difference. You must be authorized to fight. Just like in the Crown Tourney we just had, all of the participants had to be authorized to be able to fight in the Crown Tournament. And that there is a roster that you can check that. Well, we have someone that has access to that checks that. So
we had a point that at one time our marshals didn't have to be fighters. They just had to pass the marshal class to be the warranted marshal.
Yes, but I mean, I was talking about
to be an authorized marshal. I don't think you have to be a fighter. I think you just have to take the marshal class.
You and be safe. That is correct. Authorized. Just means they can fight. I think this is a little confusing. Roz, you might want to make note of this. But yes, an authorizing marshal is someone that can authorize someone, whether it be for rapier or chivalric. And I think that's Charlotte. Charlotte, you are correct. You can be an authorized marshal and not take the field. But you must know the rules. You must be able to be safe. I mean, know the safety requirements, because many times, Marguerite from Brad Lee, she's an authorized marshal, but she does not take the field. I mean, she takes the field as the marshal.
Because I know I at one time was an authorized marshal, but I've never taken the field. And I just wanted to make sure that was still the rule.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And official deputies to the local Knight or Rapier Marshal are also considered to be warranted and must be authorized marshals. Though they may not appear on the Kingdom Earl Marshal or Kingdom Rapier Marshal's roster warrant, local deputies that are warrantable are covered under warranted local marshals warrant. They're listed as they would be. they're acceptable as a marshal if they needed to step in, but they don't hold an actual office. Does that make sense? I don't know if that clarifies it anymore. See, group kingdom calendar events. So events that are sponsored by one or more officially recognized branches of the kingdom, or it can be sponsored by the kingdom itself, but normally they are hosted by a different one or more groups. We have the type of calendar events. We have groups have one perpetual event date per year on a reserved weekend. These events are placed on the kingdom calendar by the kingdom calendar deputy and do not require formal request, though the group's seneschal is responsible for providing information about the event to the kingdom calendar deputy. Non-PED events must be requested from the kingdom calendar deputy to be considered an official event. So you must send in the request. I'll use Namron. Namron Protectorate is the PED, where Namron Beltane, which happens in the April-May area, it is not. It is a non-PED. So the seneschal wants, if they want it to be an official event, if they want to have any awards given at that, it needs to be official and be on the kingdom calendar, but the seneschal would have to send all that information in and request to the kingdom calendar deputy. And this is going to go into how to request that, the non-PED or non-recurring kingdom. You send the request to the kingdom for a date on the kingdom calendar to the kingdom calendar deputy. This is a requirement for all kingdom calendar published events. What are the other rules regarding kingdom calendar events? The calendar event listed must include the date, time, location of the event. The event must be listed in advance on the kingdom calendar. There is a bid for the kingdom event form submitted along with a budget to the kingdom seneschal, the kingdom exchequer, and the crown to be considered, which is the financial committee, to be considered to host kingdom recurring events where the kingdom collects a percentage of the profits. And recurring events without a profit split must be submitted directly to the crown. So what it's talking about there is like Royal Hunter. It normally isn't a standalone kingdom event, but if your group wants to host it, you've been asked by either the current hunter or the crown to host it, you would need to say that we would be able to host this, but then you need to give your specifics of the date and time and why you feel like it could be hosted there. Let's see. Recurring events. Let's see. If it's not advertised, if an event is not advertised at least once in the kingdom newsletter, no activities of long-term importance or official business may take place. So it's not going to be an official if you don't get it advertised into the Black Star. And that, as I said, is like giving the awards, and it needs to be advertised at least once in the Black Star. And there is a checklist, seneschal sign-off form that it helps you to understand all the things that needs to be done when putting in for your event or kingdom calendar events. Multi-group kingdom calendar events is hosted by 2 or more officially recognized branches of the kingdom. And again, it meets the same requirements to be on the kingdom as a kingdom calendar events. One group will be designated as the paper pusher, but both are held responsible. So typically, if Namron Wiesenführer were putting together a multi-group kingdom event, they could have Wiesenführer as the one that is their exchequer is the one running the gate and stuff. But if any issues, it's still both groups that are responsible, even though it's one. But instead of having the Namron exchequer and the Wiesenführer exchequer working together, it would just go under one, and they would choose that between them, the two groups. Non-kingdom calendar events. Awards and events of long-term significance cannot occur at any non-kingdom calendar events. So if it's not official, you can't have awards. Event reports, NMR, if site registration is charged, and waivers must still be submitted, even if it's a not official event, or non-kingdom calendar event, you still need to send in an NMR and event reports within 10 days. What are the characteristics of kingdom events? Well, they share profits with the kingdom as detailed in kingdom law. You must submit a bid to the kingdom seneschal, exchequer, and crown, including a budget with profit projections, pictures of the site, amenities, additional activities, and any drawbacks of the site. The kingdom financial committee must approve all kingdom event bids. If proposed kingdom event does not have a financial component, the kingdom financial committee will defer to the wishes of the crown. Event bids and planning. How do I bid and I plan for an event? Well, local event bids are solicited from the populace 6 months before an event. So your local groups use the seneschal should be working on it, trying to call for event stewards, things like that, at least 6 months before your event happens. So that gives you plenty of time. The bid should always include your budget, event steward, and basic event crew. Event stewards are deputy seneschals, so they must meet all the requirements for a local seneschal, like being a member. That you do need to be, if you want to be an event steward, you need to be able to be a member. Assign a mentor if it's their first time. Stewards to answer questions and give advice. Set a family max equivalent to 3 adult member registrations. Families are people who are related and live at the same address. It's not my sister who lives 2 towns away from me. We are the same family, but it's who is living in the same household, same address. So each of the group's financial committee must approve all final budgets. Like I said, on the Kingdom website, there is a request for the date on the Kingdom calendar or bid for a Kingdom event form to submit a request for a preferred date. Always include an alternate date in case your first choice is not chosen. That will keep you from having to resubmit it. If no event steward has been chosen, you can always use the seneschal's name as a placeholder for the event steward, but then the official event steward must be designated at least 3 months before the event. So you could put it in 6 months ahead and use your local seneschal just to be a placeholder, but then once you have the event steward in place, you can fill it out and send it back in. You make a preliminary event ad and post it to the website so it can be linked to the online calendar. Also consider placing an extra ad in the Black Star advertising the month before your event. That's just recommendations to try and help with you. It must be done at least one time in the Black Star, but a second time is always recommended to help, get your attendance up. What are the rules about event announcements? At least one event announcement in the Black Star is required for every Kingdom calendar event, and it must be submitted by the first of the month before the month of the publication. There's a section, event announcement checklist and seneschal sign-off form on the Kingdom Chronicler's website, and it helps explain that. further for you. Send an electronic copy of the ad and any releases for artwork on time. Failure to do so will mean that your event will not be a Kingdom calendar event and no awards will be given. So try and do this as soon as possible and make sure you are following the Seneschal checklist. Non-member registration. All events charging registrations are required to collect the NMR. If no money is collected at a Kingdom calendar event, multi-group calendar event, or off-calendar event, then no NMR. But if you collect a registration, you must collect a non-member registration fee if they do not have a membership. This link will give you to explain that a little better. Warranted marshals are required for all combat, archery, and equestrian activities. Ensure that you have the equipment and people necessary to conduct the activity. If not, contact the regional archery or equestrian marshal to find help or equipment if you need. Do not assume that the individual archers or equestrians in attendance are going to equip to run the activities. So if it's your local archery, you're having championship, don't expect your local marshal to show up or the champion to show up with all the things needed. So it comes back to communication. Try and make sure before the event that you have the equipment and things, marshals there necessary to run it. Alcohol. SCA funds cannot be used to buy alcohol. It cannot be used to buy ingredients to make alcohol. Any situation that gives the appearance that the SCA is providing alcohol is prohibited. Taverns run by private individual at events may not in any way imply that the SCA is involved, including accepting donations to give to the SCA. So make sure that anything to do with alcohol is not associated with the SCA. Insurance. The SCA has liability insurance and most sites will require proof of that insurance. A copy of the insurance is available through the corporate office or directly from the Kingdom Seneschal. I just got the new one for this year, so if any of you need a copy so that you have it for your event, please email me. I can get you a copy of the most recent liability insurance. If the site owner wants to be listed on the insurance certificate as additionally insured, a fee must be paid to the corporate office, and this insurance certificate must be ordered about 6 weeks in advance. The equestrian insurance is required if horses attend an event or a demo and must be obtained at least 45 days prior to the event, and it is ordered from corporate. A single insurance request may list multiple dates in the same year for the same location. If your group always has equestrian practice at the same location, you can include all the dates for the year on a single insurance request. Animals. Pets are welcome at events unless the site owner does not permit pets. Even if pets are permitted on site, no pets are allowed at gate, service animals or not. Pet owners are responsible for and must be in control of their pets and their pets' actions at all times. They must clean up after their pets and keep them from disturbing others. Should maintain vaccinations in accordance with the laws in their state of residence. The gate does not check vaccination records, including rabies. Horse owners must provide proof of a negative Coggins test to be admitted to an event. Under service animals, event announcement for sites that do not allow pets should specify service animals only, not service animals only with an ID, because we cannot require them to show us their service animal ID. Federal and state laws allow service animals everywhere the public is allowed. You can ask the owner if the animal is a service animal. If yes, then admit the animal. If an animal is aggressive or destructive, you can ask the owner and the animal to leave, whether it's a service animal or not. I mean, if the animal is being not controlled by its owner, then you can ask that. If it's going to cause possible harm to others, you are allowed to do that. Children. Parents are responsible for their children at all times. Parents should always know where their kids are. If they're less than 12 years old, the kid should be within earshot and eyesight.
Can I interrupt and go back to the question about the animals?
Yes.
Rachel asked, there is a difference between a service animal and a support animal. That's what she wanted to bring up.
Yes, there is. I need to.
She was a statement, not a question. I'm sorry.
Okay, because I'm like.
Yes, ma'am. So this is Ryan. I'm Rachel's husband. Most people know me as Sadiq. One of the things that a lot of people are misconstrued on is the difference between a service animal and a support animal. A service animal is certified to provide some type of service, be it seeing eye, be it medical response, things of those natures. A support animal is an animal used for emotional support, for mental health reasons. Support animals do not fall under the same guidelines as service animals. Service animals can go anywhere the public can go. Support animals, not so much. I work mental health, so that's the reason why I know that there is a difference between the two.
Yes, and I thank you, Ryan. I also work in the mental health, and as soon as you said that, I was like, yes, there is a difference. I will need to make sure we clarify and cover that because, as you said, service animals are certified. We cannot request or ask what their service is. But again, I need to clarify with whether we as the kingdom will be allowing support animals also. But I will clarify that today or after today's meeting, okay? But I've got it marked down because there is definitely a distinct difference between the two.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, children. Parents cannot leave the site without their children unless you have provided a notarized medical authorization in the care of a non-parent adult. Children under 12 are not suitable babysitters. Minors, any person under the age of 18 cannot run gate or be seneschal or treasurer. Children's activities at events and other locations. For organized SCA functions, a minimum of 2 adults, and they're unrelated to one another by blood marriage, must be present at all times. 1 adult present must have the appropriate background check from the society. Kids 5 and under must be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian to participate in kid activities. For additional information and policies, see the Minister of Children's website. Demo and public relations. Demos must be approved by the Seneschal of a branch of the SCA. You can contact the media liaison for information. Only that office is currently open. We don't have anyone, so you can send that to the Kingdom Seneschal. Encourage your populace to wear their nicest garb and to represent as many activities as possible. Make a sign-in sheet for potential new members. Newspapers have some sort of a community calendar, and most types of media, newspapers, TV, and radio have a website that include a community calendar, so getting that on there can help your group. Fighters participating in a combat demo must have proof of membership with them, or they must sign the waiver needed. And at demos, we do not allow the public to participate like Namron Medieval Fair is a large demo that we do up here. The people from the spectators, they're not allowed to participate in the heavy fighting. Even if they signed a waiver, we wouldn't do that, not at that demo. So we give them the information. You can come to a practice where then you can have them sign a waiver, and then they have the armor that we have. Anyway, so just know that at demos, the spectators are not allowed to participate. That's probably what's going to say. I should have waited to say that, but here we go. An SCA fighter should never hit a member of the public with or without armor. If audience members show an interest in fighting, direct them to a local fighter practice. Fight the night activities for children may only be conducted with boffer weapons. The SCA combat participant must meet normal SCA chivalric armor requirements. Allowed sufficient room around the activity to keep both the child and the audience safe. A waiver is not required for the non-SCA child hitting with the boffer. So it's saying if you had a foam weapon, not our rattan weapons, that they would do that, but not letting them get in with an actual, give them a sword and shield. Never leave live steel unattended, or allow the audience to handle live steel. If a demo involves horses, the sponsoring group must purchase the equestrian insurance, and equestrian participants must sign the appropriate waivers. Waivers are not required at demos that do not include combat missile or equestrian activities. Contact the Kingdom Seneschal immediately to report any serious injuries if they were to happen at a demo or event. Remember, interest wanes quickly. Follow up with all newcomers within 7 days. Invite newcomers to populace or newcomers meeting, fighter practices. Email messages should include links to the local Kingdom and SCA websites. If a local event is coming up soon, include a link to that website as well. At your next event, after your demo, be sure that someone is assigned to assist your newcomers. You don't want them left there showing up and then feeling that they're all out of sorts because they don't know where to go or what to do. So having someone designated to be there for any newcomers is a great way to help your group. Mundane media. To assist in media relation activities, it is recommended that each branch select someone to take the role of the group's media contact person. This person should be a well-spoken with extensive knowledge of the SCA and local group. This could be the Seneschal, the Hospitaller, landed nobility, a peer, or just someone who has been in the SCA a long time. This person will be your group's first image of the SCA to the media. They should promote a professional and clean-cut image. Media contact should use the modern name, not SCA name, when dealing with the media. The Kingdom Media Liaison also recommends that all officers be educated on what to do if a reporter drops by a fighter practice or an A&S day. Again, currently we do not have a Kingdom Media Liaison. That is open for applications. For those who wish to film a documentary type project at your demo or event, the SCA Inc. has rules regarding commercial filming. Even by those who are students, please contact the Kingdom Media Liaison immediately to discuss the film crew's project. Please allow at least 3 to 4 weeks to approve requests to the film, as the Society Media Relations Officer will have to be consulted. Basically, there are 2 types of media interactions: when we contact the media and when the media contacts us. Our responses to these types of interactions can differ, but preparation on our part can make the interaction successful and relatively pain-free. Most branches in the society come into contact with the media at some time. Interacting with the media can be perilous. The result can be very positive or quite negative. Handling the media, whether proactively, as in the case of solicited coverage of your event or reactively, as in a crisis, can create a lasting positive impression or destroy a local branch. So be very careful when dealing, not saying you can't deal with the media, just be careful when dealing with them. Approved platform. Social media is a rapidly evolving tool, and branches are encouraged to use whichever platform works best for their group. Be careful not to overextend yourself. The Kingdom social media liaison must be informed of any new branch social media presence. Each branch is encouraged to at least maintain a Facebook group or page. The Kingdom of Ansteorra has official presence here at the Facebook and Twitter. Well, was that all of, that may have been all of my, okay. I believe, let me go back, that may have been all of my, okay. So we still have some time. Questions, I've wrote down the ones that we stopped, and I will be getting on those. Any other questions for new Seneschals coming in or wanting to be